What is going on, my Houston Texans family? Hope you guys are having a blessed Monday. Welcome back to the 713 Houston Sportcast. I am your host, Ruben Calvillo. You guys can also find me on Believe in the Houston Texans on Spotify. Shout out to Believe and shout out for them to letting me talk football with them. The Houston Texans free agency is approaching, ladies and gentlemen, and all signs point that they're just going to knock it out the park like what they've been doing this whole offseason. With DeMeco Ryans, it just feels like a breath of fresh air. It feels like competent football is back in Houston, and he just continues to add to his staff, right? He made a hiring 2 days ago, and that Shanahan system is just going to come to Houston. The Houston Texans are expected to hire Shane Day as a senior offensive assistant. Day had a previous served with the Chargers as a passing games coordinator and a QB's coach. Our boy Jordan, Texans thoughts, shout out to him. He said Shane Day has a long, versatile history working with the Shanahan system. 49ers quality control coach in 07 through 09, the Bears QB coach from 2010 to 11, the Washington assistant O-line coach under Sean McVay from 14 to 15, Dolphins tight end coach 16 to 18, and then from 19 to 20 was with Kyle Shanahan as the QB coach. Bring me that, that type of play action and get your players the ball in space type of offense into Houston. I am excited for that. But when you're looking at free agency, and before we talk about who we would want to bring to the Houston Texans, we have to talk about who we would bring back and who we would let go, right? The Houston Texans have about 19 pending free agents, and we're going to go through this list and talk about who we would bring back and who would we let go. When you only win 3 games in the season, there's not really a bunch of people who you want to come back. I'm not saying there are a couple bright spots, but most of these players will probably have new teams or won't even be on the team next offseason. It was that bad for the Houston Texans. I said it many times before. This is one of the worst Houston Texans team that I have ever seen. And let's go ahead and start it off right. Rasheem Green, you can go ahead and pack your bags. We brought you in from the Seattle Seahawks, only 3.5 sacks on the season. Didn't really see, the type of production we were hoping. Obo Okorokna was the exact opposite, right? Started the last 8 games for the Houston Texans, and in the final 5 had 5 sacks. The Houston Texans did or are trying to extend them, and I love Obo Okorokna getting a second year with the Houston Texans, and hopefully much more playing time than what he did this year. Kevin Pierre-Louis, you can go. There is a new linebacking core coming to the Houston Texans. Christian Harris and whoever is going to be a partner in crime going to absolutely ball out. Kyle Allen, you can go. Rex Burkhead, I will pack your bags for you, right? Rex Burkhead was just, I did not understand it. Why didn't Dameon Pierce start the first game against the Colts when we knew he was the better running back? Why was Rex Burkhead the featured number 2 where on any other team he would have been the 3rd or 4th running back? Just didn't understand to me. MJ Stewart can go. Justin McCray, me and him have beef. I went to 2 training camp practices, and I just kept seeing number 64 get his butt beat up. And I said out loud accidentally, damn, 64, you're getting ate up. And what does he do? Gives me the stank face. Justin McCray, you can go ahead and walk. Shout out to you. Tavier Thomas, man, we were expecting so much coming into this season. Gets injured. It kind of sees his spot taken away from Tremon Smith, number 1, who had the 2 interceptions, a really big game against the Cowboys. I would want Tremon Smith back. Tavier Thomas, if it's a very cheap deal, I would definitely entertain it, but we still have Desmond King. We still have Steven Nelson. We still have Derek Stingley. And cornerback is, I think, a strength for the Houston Texans. Neville Hewitt, shout out to you, man. I think it's time to go. You have to bring back John Winks, your long snapper. At this point, the Houston Texans are John Winks, and John Winks are the Houston Texans. Chris Moore is interesting, right? His second year with the Houston Texans, 500 yards, 2 tutties. Was probably your only consistent wide receiver this whole year after really doing nothing in Baltimore the previous 4. Do you bring him back for a 3rd year? I would. I think he's definitely earned that spot, and I think after a horrible year in terms of offense, he was the only bright spot as wide receiver. Scott Quisenberry can go. Taylor Stallworth can go. Royce Freeman was just behind Rex Burkhead, and they didn't really give him an opportunity to the final 2 games. You can go. Philip Dorsett is interesting. Kind of made some plays for the Houston Texans, but I think you need to go younger. And with John Minchie coming back, you have Amari Rodgers, who made some plays for you. this wide receiving core does get a little bit interesting, but I do think Philip Dorsett goes on. O.J. Howard and Jordan Akins, 2 tight ends. I think Jordan Akins you have to bring back after what he did as the year ended for the Houston Texans. Was, your best tight end along with Team Quitoriano. With O.J. Howard, bursted onto the scene with 2 tutties and 64 yards against the Colts and didn't really do anything as the season went on. O.J. Howard could walk. Jeff Driscoll could walk. Derek Rivers could walk. Blake Cashman could walk. And Jonathan Owens, I wouldn't mind bringing you back, man. You worked your ass off, 3 years, barely making the squad to finally getting your first chance as a starter. Maybe you don't be a starter, this year, but play heavy as a backup. I would like the Houston Texans to bring back Jonathan Owens. And when you look at this, right, I mentioned about 19, 20 names, and only Jonathan Owens, Chris Moore, Obo Okoronkwo, and John Wicks are the only players I see the Houston Texans bringing them back. And no one has an issue with this when you only won 3 games. But regardless, this is the Houston Texans starter free agency. Y'all let me know how you guys feel about it. I am excited as always. Go Texans. You guys have a very blessed day.